Welcome to the one and only Tszyu.
Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, May the 20. No, it's not the May the 20 something. It's what is it? May the 12th, 2025. And great to have everyone along. Big weekend of boxing as always. I really enjoyed a couple of fights, especially yesterday. What was it? Kashashi? Is that how you pronounce it? Kasashi or whatever it is with Lee Wood. There was also the Emmanuel Navarrete Charlie Suarez fight. And there was also what was the other fight on was it Espinoza and the Japanese guy, Ioka, whatever it is? I didn't see that one, so I'll have to check that one out as well. But and Moratala as well beat Abdullayev, or whatever his name is. So yeah, good weekend. I didn't see that one either. I just saw those other two fights that I said. But either way, a big weekend. We had the press conference today for Sam Goodman versus Cesar Vaca, Harry Garside versus Charlie Bell. So we'll have a quick look at that a little bit later as far as what the card is going to look like. I know the response on that hasn't been great. So let's see what the numbers are like on Wednesday. So if you haven't been part of this show before, if you're watching live, that is, there's a comment section there. Put your question, comment, remark, opinion, whatever it might be in the chat, and we'll all have a chat about it. And also a big hello and welcome and thank you to everyone that listens on Spotify afterwards as well. So we've got a few in the chat already. Let's have a quick look. We'll start, as always, with old mate Big J, who gets in nice and early. What do you got there? Question, have you ever seen a fighter more undeserving of the media attention than Harry Garside? Hasn't done anything in his career, had 3 years out of the ring, yet gets all the media. Well, look, I understand there, Big J, and I agree that maybe Harry Garside doesn't deserve all the attention, especially with what some of the other Olympians have done. Especially winning medals and everything else. And Harry did win a bronze medal, don't forget, in 2020 or 21, I think the actual Tokyo Olympics were. He actually fought very, very well. Obviously didn't fight so well in the last Olympics, but he's a personality, Big J, and that's what I think is the attraction. With all due respect to Charlie Sr. and a few of the others out there that have won medals and maybe have done a little bit more than what Harry has done in the amateurs and pros, he's got a personality, he's got a story, he's got an angle, he's got a niche, whatever you might want to call it. And that's what the media absolutely love. And if you saw at the last Olympics, when they got off the plane from, where was the last Olympics? Was it Paris, wasn't it? Yeah. That the media walked straight past the two Olympians that actually won medals and went straight for Harry. They made a beeline towards him because he is the story. And I think there was a 60-minute story on the weekend as well. I only saw snippets of it, but he's got the story and he's running with it. The painted nails, the wearing dresses, the quirky personality, all that sort of stuff. But let's not forget the guy can fight. But have I seen anyone more undeserving? No, look, I don't think he's undeserving, Big J, of attention. Maybe just the royal treatment, I suppose, is almost getting at the moment might be a little bit too much. But as I said, mate, like this is what sells. This is what we're all talking about it now. The first question we've got is you asking about Harry Garside, whether it's about him being deserving or not. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Harry, and I actually thought he was really good today. I've had my own opinions of Harry over the journey, but I actually thought he was very, very professional and well spoken today. And I think I wish a lot of other fighters were more like him, especially this other peanut that keeps on about him. Is it Ahmed Redder? Needs to grow up a bit, that young man, and mature a little bit, I think. I think we've got a super chat there. There he is, D-Style. Hey, mate, $2. Thank you very much, mate. What's good, Lynden? No, really good, mate. Thank you again for having me on your show this morning. If you didn't see that, guys, check out the D-Style Boxing channel. D-Style and I chatted about a few things, including this week, the Wednesday's fight night, and a few other bits and pieces as well. I'm going to have to start giving you back some of your money at some stage, mate. I keep forgetting to reciprocate and do the super chats. I'm not even sure how to do the super chat, but I'll give it a try anyway, mate. Next time you're on. Thanks very much for the $2, mate. Appreciate it. All right, Big J. So still on that subject. Charlie Sr., who actually won a bronze at the last Olympics, had his first win the other day, and barely mentioned. Yes, I did see that, and I forgot to actually mention it myself. So apologies to Charlie Sr. Garside is milking that bronze medal for all it's worth. Didn't know medals had, what's that, udders? I'm not sure what that means there, mate. But look, as I said, mate, he's a personality. And when has success or achievements or whatever meant when it comes to a personality and the media liking what they do? I mean, look at someone like, say, Steve Irwin. He is the absolute, not Steve Irwin, Robert Irwin, the son. Absolute media darling at the moment. What's he ever done? He's now on. He's got his own TV show, or with what is it, the Jungle Show? He's doing photo spreads, all this sort of stuff. What's he ever done except be the son of a famous person that was actually doing something? So, and he got his chance by being the son of Steve Irwin. So, yeah, look, I don't know, mate. I wish I could explain it or have an answer to why this happens. But I just think people get fascinated with certain people. The media certainly do, and it helps if you've got some sort of quirkiness or story or agenda, whatever it might be, and that's what Harry's got. And look, let's face it. All things aside, he's a likable guy. He's very well spoken. He's very, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I've got a feeling very, very left leaning, and that seems to be all through the media. The media love that point of view, and they tend to lean themselves to people that think that way, and they get all the attention. Whereas on the opposite, I'm not getting political here, by the way, so don't get me started. But the right-leaning people out there tend to sort of get shunted to the side and ridiculed and everything else, and he's very much a media darling because of his thoughts on different political things and a lot of other stuff. But as I said, mate, I actually thought he was pretty good today, and I don't think he's ever really gone out there and preached a lot of the stuff he's saying. If asked, he'll tell people his opinion, but he's not out there, sticking himself to a road or anything like that, is he? And disrupting people. He's got an opinion. He's his own man, and I don't mind him. I don't mind Harry. But as far as, you're right, Charlie Sr., who actually got a bronze medal, yes, of course he deserves, at the moment, more attention. But as I said, mate, don't forget that Harry Garside himself won a bronze medal back in 21. So he does deserve a little bit of, attention that way. But I understand what you're saying. I understand. Then we've got another super chat. That is Andy. How are you, Andy? Thanks very much for that, mate. $10. Really appreciate it, mate. What do you got there? Hello, boxing fans. Congratulations to all the winners lately. Yes, happy Mother's Day to all the good mothers, accomplishments, popularity, in my opinion. Smash that like button. Yeah, thanks very much, Andy. And you're right. Very happy Mother's Day to everyone yesterday. And if you don't actually have a mother to fuss over and give a lot of love, then hope you manage to get through the day as well. And, my wife lost her mum about 20 years ago, so it's always a bit of a difficult day, but we do our best, and our sons try and give her a good day anyway. So whether your mum was there or not, I hope you had you got through the day anyway and had a good day if your mum was still there. All right, let's get on to some more questions there. What do we got? Cal Jane, I think Hitchens almost looks scared with George, the face-off. Yep, not looking as confident as he did with Liam. I did mention that the other day, Cal. I did say that Hitchens looked a little bit nervous for me, and I think he was just rolling out the normal type of one-liners and, the predictable stuff that, fighters say when they haven't really got anything better. But George is the master when it comes to this sort of stuff. I mean, he out trash talked someone like a Teofimo Lopez, who was very good. He got right in Teofimo's head. He's more than held his own with the likes of Devin Haney and whoever else has even attempted to go with him. And even on X and that sort of stuff, not that I'm really big on X, but I have seen a few people put up the comments, and George has put them out himself. Very, very quick-witted is George. He's got that comeback, and he says it the way that doesn't really give them a way to come back. just hits them between the eye. They might come back with what they think is a great insult. He'll just come straight back with something even better and just makes them look a little bit silly. Reminds me a little bit of, you remember the Seinfeld episode with George Costanza? That's what I reckon a lot of fighters would be like dealing with George. You know, when he gets embarrassed at a meeting or something, and he's in the car afterwards and he thinks of what he should have said and he kicks himself. And that's what I think happens with a lot of George's opponents, because he's just straight back and they haven't really got a comeback. And if they do come back, he's got something even better to come back with after that. So, yeah, I think he's out of his league a bit there, Cal. I think he just should stick to just training hard and being disciplined and really focusing on the fight, because he's not going to win a trash-talking contest with George Kambosos, who has said he's the master. All right, Tom's dad, Naz. How are you, Naz? Evening all. It was good to see Ted Kofi on the No Limit press conference. Hopefully he replaces Bedell on the commentary. At least he's actually been in there. I do agree with that, Naz. I was watching the press conference today, and he's really well spoken, Ted Kofi. It is Kofi, isn't it? I think it's not coffee. It's Ted Kofi. I think that's the proper way to pronounce it. But I think one is that he's obviously well credentialed. He's been in there. I think he's held some version of the title anyway, hasn't he? And he's one of Britain's better fighters over the last sort of a few decades. But he also speaks really, really well. He does his research, and that's what I like, doing your research. It doesn't really matter sometimes the way you put it out there for people, as long as you know what you're talking about. My thing's always been, I don't care whether you agree with me or you don't agree with me or you've got a different opinion, whatever, but just, that's cool. Just know what you're talking about. There's nothing better than people firing things at you and they have no idea what they're talking about, or they've read an article or watched a video. Okay, come at me or anyone else that's in boxing. As long as you know you've got an opinion, no matter what it is, whether it's political, whether it's boxing, whatever, just know your stuff. Okay, and that's what Ted Kofi brings, a lot more than your man there, Peter Bedell. Now, he does his best, I will say, Naz, but unfortunately, I think he's into the rugby league. I think a lot of did switch over yesterday during the football and watch a bit of the Melbourne Storm, the mighty Melbourne Storm. I don't watch a lot of them, by the way. I just make sure I check to see where they've won, but it was halftime yesterday. Checked them out beating the Tigers, and I think he was a commentary on that, and he was just as bad as as he is at boxing, to be honest. But I think because he's got the rugby league, and he no doubt has his fingers in a few different pies, and they probably just said, there you go, you can take the boxing aspect. He probably obviously doesn't have as much time as the rest of us to really delve into what's going on overseas and on all the sites and the YouTube pages. I get that. But he just comes out as a little bit cringeworthy as Bedell, Naz, and let's hope, Ted Kofi is in the chair on Wednesday, which I'm sure he will. And I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Bedell maybe joins him and whoever's the host of the night, which will be Ben Damon as the host, but as a lead commentary. I don't know, but I'm with you there, mate, for sure. All right. What have we got there? I think I've got through the first few ones. Kane Mack, how are you there, mate? Another great show with D-Style. Thanks very much, mate. It's always enjoyable to get on there and talk boxing with someone that's as passionate as what you are about it and just knows the stuff, and D-Style more than knows his stuff. And I like that he has his say and backs up his opinions. And that's all I ask. And there's always been the argument you've got to be involved in boxing to have an opinion. I've never thought that way. I think anyone can have an opinion. The only probably time I take exception of people voicing their opinions if they actually get personal with a fighter and say he's weak because he's retired from the corner or whatever it might be. That's a little bit different. I expect you to be in the ring, but as a general opinion, a general consensus and everything on the sport of boxing, I welcome anyone having a say, and D-Style is probably one of the best in the business at that. So make sure you follow D-Style. I'm sort of on there every sort of month or so. So check out his page and he'll let you know when we're on together. All right, Shadow Boxer. I wouldn't say he hasn't done anything. A bronze is pretty good. Yeah, it's good call. Good call. Big J again. Lubin gets murdered by Murtazaliev. Also, if people still think the jury's out on Bakram, does this bring Tim's legitimacy into question? I think there's no question Bakram is the best 154-pounder. I've got to disagree with you again there, Big J. I'm sorry. You're bringing these topics up. I'm going to answer you. I don't think Lubin gets murdered by Murtazaliev. I'm still not getting too carried away with Barkram's win over Tim. Now, I know it was a very, very impressive win, and I know his other maybe subpar performances maybe were because of Ramadan and all these other things. I understand that. But I want to see him back up the Tim fight. Then I'll give my honest opinion of where I see him. He's had one out of the box. Now, I think we all agree that Tim made it extremely easy for him to get the job done by pretty much leading with his face and paid the consequences. We get that. I don't know. I think that's a 50-50 fight, Big J. Lubin and Murtazaliev. I know Lubin didn't look overly great over the weekend either. He beat Holmes, I think, wasn't it? Look, I'd probably still back Murtazaliev to get the win, but I certainly don't think he's getting murdered, Lubin, that is, by Murtazaliev. What's that if the jury's out on Buckram? Does this bring Tim's legitimacy into question? No, not at all, mate. It happens. It happens in boxing. Someone will iron out another fighter. Doesn't mean they're out of the sport. This is the thing. Geez, I mean, Manny Pacquiao got knocked into the 20th row at the MGM Grand against Juan Manuel Marquez. He came back and won world titles after that. Fought Mayweather in the richest fight in history. It doesn't mean that's it, and it questions your legitimacy. Tim got caught. Now, I'm not saying that Tim's suddenly with that win over Joey Spencer, that he's suddenly a superstar or anything. I'm not saying that. He's still got to prove to me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys and girls out there, that he is legitimate, Tim. I think he's still got a long way to go. But I don't think his legitimacy is affected too much by Barkram Murtazaliev. It's just one of those things that happen. Now, for me, it's if Tim can't get back to that sort of level that he was before the Murtazaliev fight, that obviously you got to question it. He's got to beat Fundora in the rematch. That's just a given. And is he the best 154-pounder? I'm not sure, Big J. I know, again, I'm disagreeing with you a lot tonight, but I'm just gonna go to the rankings for a sec. We won't get sort of bogged down in this for the night, but I'm just going to go to the current rankings. Who is the best 154-pounder? Well, it's Crawford, isn't it? But I mean, we've got to take him out of the equation for now. All right, well, let's have a quick look. We've got Fundora, we've got Virgil Ortiz. Crawford, I said, is out of the equation. We've got Xander Zayos. These are the sort of big dogs in it. Sergey Boachok, Jesus Ramos Jr., Tim Tszyu. You got to probably put, no, not yet. I'm not putting Tim in that bracket just yet. Got a long way to come back. Madrimov, out of those, I would say I would still have Virgil Ortiz ahead of Barkram Murtazaliev. I think on his day, Jesus Ramos is capable of beating Barkram as well. Zayos probably a little bit too early for him, but he's got potential. I would have it definitely in the top 3 or 4 anyway, Big J, but I'm certainly not going to say there's no question that Barkram is the best 154-pounder. On what basis? The knockout of Tim Tszyu is obvious, but who else? He hasn't really beaten anyone apart from that. Those other guys I've mentioned, like Fundora, Crawford especially, and Virgil Ortiz, I think have got a better resume than what Murtazaliev. So I want to see Barkram Murtazaliev back it up with another couple of wins, and then we'll start talking about him being in the argument for the best 154-pounder. Naz, great show today. Oh, thanks, Naz, with the Aussie legend. I appreciate that mate. I hope you're talking about me. Bill Collison, how are you, Bill? Can you dream match up for Joe the Dragon Calzaghe? Yeah, not a bad one there, Bill. Just a quick one on that. I was going to do the best fights of all time, best dream fights of all time on Wednesday, but I forgot about the fight night. So apologies about that, guys. We'll do it the following week. I am going to do the watch along. Yes, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to pay my $50. I'm going to watch the card, and I'm going to do the watch along. So if for any reason you want to jump on and see how the fight night's going, then jump on and come and say good day and watch the fight, or watch me watch the fight night. So, but yeah, we'll do the best dream fights of all time the week after. But we'll put him on the list there, Bill, for sure, mate. I have had him in, who was it, against Canelo a couple of weeks ago. We put him on Canelo's dream fights, and I actually had Calzaghe beating Canelo, Bill. I'm not sure what you thought about that, but let us know your opinions there. Naz, he agrees with Big J. Would rather see Ramos Jr. rematch. Ramos beats Lubin, in my opinion. Yeah, I'd agree with that, Naz. I'd agree with that. I suppose I just disagree with him. What was it there? Gets murdered by Murtazaliev? I don't think so. I think Murtazaliev wins, but I don't think it's a one-sided fight at all. All right, Drew Keeley. How are you, Drew? Not crazy about the potential Pacquiao-Barrios fight. To put things into perspective, Pacquiao made his debut when I was 17, and next month I'm 48. Not sure this should be sanctioned. Yeah, well, the WBC released a statement about that, Drew, and they're backing it up. I was going to talk a little bit more about this tomorrow on Walking Box, and I probably will anyway. But Mauricio Suleiman said that no one thought that Leonard would be able to beat Hagler after such a long way off as well. And look what happened. What he didn't mention, of course, is that Sugar Ray Leonard was 30 years old. Manny Pacquiao was 46. Now, Sugar Ray had been out for about 3 years. Pacquiao's been out about 4. But put this in perspective. When Leonard beat Hagler in 1987, he would have been the same age as what Manny Pacquiao was when he was blowing away Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto. A little bit different here. Okay, this is not the same. Look, one thing I didn't actually realise, Drew, and I'm not sure whether many of you out there realise it either, they have a legendary fighter clause. Because I'm of the opinion, like a lot of you out there saying, what the hell is going on here when you've got a 46-year-old former champion and a former great coming back after 4 years? How can he be rated after 4 years to get an opportunity at a world title? Well, apparently there is this legendary fighter clause. So if you come back, then you get an automatic WBC title shot. I think it's a legendary clause or something. It's called. I can't remember the exact name, but they've got a clause in their little constitution there that says if a legend like Pacquiao comes back, then they get a shot. So I wonder if there's hope for who else is out there that's been retired a few years. I wonder if the hitman Thomas Hearns can come back and get a WBC 175-pound title shot against Better Beav or Bivol. Sorry, Bivol's got the belts. I don't know the statute of time of whatever it is, but that's the argument that Mauricio Suleiman used. So I'm not agreeing with it, but that's what he said. But that's a pretty freaky stat there, mate. When you turn pro, you're 17 and you're almost 48. Amazing. There's Asbot. How are you there, mate? Welcome to the show. Kane Mack, no disrespect to Garside, but I don't think his style suits the pros. He'll be better in Misfits boxing / influencers boxing. Yes and no, Kane. Look, I know he's not a big puncher, but he's got some very, very good skills. Very, very skillful fighter. The problem is he's got brittle hands and he's not a big puncher. That's an issue. But look, I think he can get him a certain way, Kane. Now he's 135. He's looking to even go to 140. I think he said today. So at 140, let's just say he did actually reach the pinnacle and was in line for a title shot. I mean, even in Australia, you've got George Kambosos and Liam Paro straight off the bat. But you've got some other 140-pounders. I mean, I won't even go through them now, but let's just say it's a Barboza or even a Lopez or an Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Can you imagine trying, like a Harry Garside, trying to keep the pitbull off him? So it would be hard. Yeah, look, we don't know until we know, Kane. I mean, you're right, though. No disrespect to Harry Garside, but yeah, look, I don't know. He is very, very skillful, though. Although, having said that, fighting 3 rounds compared to 12, it's a long time to try and keep people off you. So, look, will he make it? Who knows? Who knows? But I really welcome the fact he's having a crack. Will he get there or not? That's another question. But yeah, I'm not really familiar with the Misfits and Influence and that sort of stuff. I don't really watch much of it, but I get it. I think he's a bit too good for that, though, Kane, but we'll see. Unfortunately, we're not going to get much of an indication on Wednesday night because I don't think, is it Charlie Bell is going to provide too much ammunition to see what he's made of anyway. So I'll go through the card a little bit later, actually. We'll have a quick look at it, make some sense of it. But he's 3-0, hasn't fought for, when was it? Oh, actually, they've got his amateur career up there as well. I think it's been 3 years. I think it's been. Yeah, I think I was actually at his last fight. Was it, where was it? 22, was it? Oh, that's his amateur record. Sorry, guys. I always stuff that up. All right, whatever. Pro. There it is there. All right, I figured out how to do it. No, I haven't. Whatever. I'm not going to waste my time. There's this pro and amateur thing you can have. All right, I think that's the pro. All right, now I've got it. Leighton McFerrin. I figured it out. 2022, so almost will be 3 years to the day when I was actually at that fight where he stopped Leighton McFerrin in the 7th round. And you sort of seen today too with the other what's his name, Redder, getting into, you talk about the witty comebacks. This made me sort of laugh today because Redder was getting into Garside about, you haven't fought anyone, bro. You haven't fought anyone. I've done this and I've done that. If you haven't fought anyone, he said, what have you done? He said, well, you've only had 3 fights. What have you done? Excuse me. And Harry came straight back and said, well, I've fought people with winning records. All 3 opponents that he fought have had winning records. And he said, well, how many winning records have your fighters had? And Redder went quiet all of a sudden, didn't he? He had nothing to come back. And I actually checked his record out today. 0, the answer is. 0 fighters on Ahmed Redder's record have had winning records. So maybe just sometimes you've got to pick your marks, Ahmed. Just relax. One thing you can do, maybe what you can do is go and get yourself a haircut. And when you're getting a trim, sit there and have a good hard think about when you've got to pick your battles. Okay, so you come off second best, didn't he? So, but let's hope that they at least get a fight, because what it has done, it's got us talking about the fight. And there wasn't actually a $100,000 offer made to Harry Garside to pull out of his fight with Charlie Bell and maybe him to fight Ahmed Redder's opponent, and then Redder and Garside would fight in the co-main event. So it would be good. I think Harry Garside wins that fight clearly, but we're all talking about it, and potentially gives No Limit a very, very good fight to have on one of their platforms. Cal. I think did I go past a couple of your comments? Did I? Sorry about that. Evening, great to see you for another Monday night. Thanks, mate. What's your thoughts on Pacquiao coming back? Yep, I've already had my say on that, mate. So yeah, these comments are obviously mixed up a bit there. Shadow box up. Hitchens will have no trouble with George, unfortunately. Nervous or not, it'll be akin to the Haney fights. Yeah, look, that's my first thoughts to Shadow Boxer. I'm just hoping that George can maybe pull something out. Although, having said that, he was beaten comprehensively in the first Devin Haney fight, and then we heard all about the different tactics they were going to use, the different game plan they were going to use for the second fight. And I was really intrigued. I was thinking, geez, what is he going to do here? It's a little bit different. I was maybe thinking that he might just really be aggressive and try and get inside Haney's arms from the first bell and try and get on his chest and rough him up, even though that's not necessarily George's style. I was really intrigued to see what the big secret was about the game plan, and all it was for the first round, George turned southpaw. That was it. And that didn't work after 1 round, so it was back to plan B, which was the original plan A. So, yeah, I'm with you there, Shadow Box. It's going to be a big ask of George. I'm just hoping that they've got something under the belt. I think Haney is a better fighter than Hitchens, so maybe that will give George maybe a little bit more ability to do what he's been working on. But yeah, it's a tough one, mate, just by styles. George, as we've seen against Haney, just struggles with those really slick boxes, and obviously Lomachenko as well. Going to be a tough night, mate, but hey, you've got to be in it to win it, and let's hope George can get the job done. Sammy, I see Will Tomlinson announced 3 Aussie title fights on his next card. Okay, I didn't see that, Sammy. Jason Malia versus Lewis Chadwick, Max Reeves, Abdul Rahim, and Xavier Fletcher versus Molinaro. All right, let's have a quick look and see if it's on BoxRec there, mate. Always been a big rap for Jason Malia. I just think it might be just getting a bit old in the tooth, though. I think he's late 20s or something now. All right, I'm not sure whether they've put it on BoxRec. Let's have a look. Yes, there it is. All right, so on that card, there's only 2 fights on there at the moment. So Jason Malia, Lewis Chadwick, and Dominic Molinaro and Xavier Fletcher. Okay, so 3-0 versus 5-0. The main event, 9-0 versus 5-2. But Lewis Chadwick's losses have been to Dan Hill and Joel Pavlidis. So, yeah, not bad fight. That'll be a good fight, actually. That should be a really good fight. That is July 19th. It's a Saturday at the Pullman Hotel in Melbourne. Big weekend, that, by the way, because that's on Saturday night. Then on the Sunday, there is Tim's fight over in Vegas. Then there is the New York show as well with Stevenson and Zapata and Belunga and Hamza Shiraz as well. And I think Bam Rodriguez is fighting that night as well. So big day of fights, or big weekend of fights in that one. I believe you forgot Calzaghe in the Canelo Dream fights. No, mate, I definitely had him in there, and I did say he would beat Canelo. So, check that one out. Glenn, how are you, Glenn? Calzaghe absolutely befuddles Canelo. Oh, the number one ticket holder of the Canelo fan club, Glenn. I did say the same thing, by the way, Glenn and Bill. I did say that Calzaghe would box rings around Canelo based on styles. I think Calzaghe very similar to the way Bivol sort of fights, on his toes, in and out, throws a lot of punches as well, throws a lot of punches at the same time, so combination. So, I think he would beat Calzaghe pretty much the same way as Bivol did, but maybe even more one-sided. I think that would have sort of 9 rounds to 3, 10 rounds to 2 written all over it, that one. All right, Double G. Love Costanza and Seinfeld. The ocean called the running out of shrimp. That's right. The jerk store called the running out of you. That's the one, yeah. And then, it's not a Seinfeld episode, is it? But yeah, that was awesome. The ocean called the running out of shrimp. I love that one. And he goes back and he's got the response all worked out. The jerk store called and the running out of you. And I think he then come back, the other guy, and said something like, well, why would that be? You're the number one bestseller or something like that. And then he was driving away and from the airport, and then did a U-turn and went back to have another crack. So yeah, it was pretty good. Glenn, and going back in the thread, last time I heard Garside is undefeated as a pro. Why the hate for him? Yeah, well, I just think he polarizes some people, Glenn. As I said, I've never been the biggest fan of Harry, but I mean, as a fighter, you can't sort of begrudge what he's done. Olympic bronze medalist, Australian champion in the pros. And as I said today, I was really impressed with the way he spoke and the way he handled that Redder having a crack at him and acting like the fool. I thought he handled himself very, very well. Explicit. Some news I heard is TKO are hosting 12 events and 3 super events annually. Not sure how true that is. Excuse me. Yes, that is true. Explicit. They're actually going to be renamed, so it won't be called TKO anymore. Not sure what it's actually going to be called, but it won't be TKO. And you are right. They are hosting 12 events for the year. I did hear it was actually 4 super events annually, mate. So not 3. But that came from Dana White himself. I did read that interview that he did, and he did say, first of all, it was interesting because he said at the start, they've entrusted the Crawford and Canelo fight to him. Well, Turki Al-Sheikh's basically said, there you go, you're doing it. So he's taken it on board, even though he said he's not a fan of stadium fights. But what a first fight to have. Crawford versus Canelo, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, probably 60,000 people there. It will be massive. But that's what I did see, mate. He said 12 events and 4 super events. And D-Style and I actually spoke about this morning, about how it all should work with Dana White, and just got a feeling that what will happen is that I think the Riyadh season crew will do all the matchmaking and all that sort of stuff, and Dana will be the front or the face of the promotion, and he will do all the production and deal with the arena and the media and all that sort of stuff. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. I think he does a really good job. Now, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, Dana White, but geez, what he's done with the UFC and the way he's marketed that is pretty much, he's taken like the WWE to another level. It's like the real WWE, if that makes sense. There's the World Wrestling Entertainment. This is like the world sort of ultimate fighting. Well, it's real fighting. So, but with a WWE sort of format to it, the storylines and the big events and the numbered events that they do. So, yeah, I think it's going to be great, Explicit, but I am intrigued to see how he goes about it, whether he puts that UFC media type of spin on Crawford and Canelo. One thing I think it will be, though, is it'll be something that we haven't really seen before. We've seen a little bit of it last year with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson on the Netflix platform. I thought they tried a few different things, a little bit different sort of graphics, and obviously had a different commentary team and everything else. I thought it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I haven't been impressed by the DAZN model at all. Haven't liked that. I'm interested to see what happens with Dana White and how. I'm not sure who's actually in charge of the stream. Is it going to be Netflix as well? I don't know. But either way, I think it's going to be just another dimension to boxing, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. All right, Shadow Boxer. I actually think Canelo of a few years ago gives Joe a great fight, actually. Okay, yeah, I just think he's a little bit too flat-footed, though, Shadow Boxer. Look, if you stand still, he'll dig to the head and body like most Mexican fighters will do. I just think Joe's style, even though he's a little bit awkward or was a little bit awkward, just his size, his reach, I just don't think his style would be suited to Canelo at all, and that's why I think it will be very similar to the Dimitri Bivol fight. All right, Sammy also noticed another interesting domestic matchup on BoxRec. Ben Horn versus Hunter Ione. Both always the B side and a lot of losses between them. However, they have a crack. Who wins in your opinion? Yeah, good one there, Sammy. I think Ben Horn wins that fight. I think Hunter, look, he was sort of touted as sort of being a really, well, not a, like a world like championship sort of chance, but he was sort of seen as a real up-and-coming sort of young fighter. I think he won his first... Well, let's just look at his record now. He went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 wins and a draw in his first 9 fights. And then it all went pear-shaped. He's won 1 fight since. So since then, he's gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 losses and 1 win in his last 11 fights. So at the moment, what's his record there? I'll get that out the road. He is 9 wins, 10 losses, and a draw. Now, what card is that on? He's fighting on May the 16th. Okay, so it's an Angelo DiCarlo event. And so Ben and Hunter, I don't really know anyone else on that card. There's a Matthew Hosking on there, no relation, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. So, yep. So it looks like it's an ace boxing event on that one. But yeah, I think Ben Horn wins that, Sammy. Bill says Calzaghe on points. Yep. Over Canelo. Drew, I have Crawford as a solid favourite against Canelo. Canelo's feet alarmingly looked kind of shot and his skills appeared to have declined after watching the school fight. Yeah, look, I'm not going to jump the gun on it just yet, Drew. I think, well, I probably already did jump the gun straight after the fight. I thought if he fights like that against Crawford, Crawford will absolutely carve him up. And I was surprised at the size difference between the two. I thought Terence Crawford didn't look out of place. Of course, Crawford was, not training. He had clothes on and all that sort of stuff. So I'd be interested to see what he looks like after he's gone through a camp. But I think based on that, yeah, of course you'd have to give Crawford a really, really good chance. The only thing I'm going to say about it is that about the whole situation with how Canelo looked is I touched on it again in my videos last week on Walking Boxing, that out of his comfort zone, had to get up at midnight to fight at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning in a half-empty stadium, Cinco de Mayo. He didn't have the cheering crowds and all the razzmatazz and all that there. I'm not saying it was the reason. I'm just saying what I've sort of put himself in that position. If you get taken out of your normal surroundings and your comfort zone and what you're used to, very, very hard to replicate what you've done in the past. And especially the fact of fighting so early in the morning, no matter how well you would have prepared, and I know both fighters have to do it, by the way, but I don't think no matter how well you prepare in camp, to get up at midnight and prepare for a fight at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was, it would be extremely tough. And I've just got a feeling that watching the fight at the time, I think it was almost like when Skull, or Skull, however you want to pronounce it, decided that he wasn't going to engage and he was just going to pretty much get a paycheck and run and just not worry about fighting. I think Canelo just sort of said, oh, well, that's the case. I'm not really going to get out of first gear here. I can't be bothered. I've come across the other side of the world. It's too early for this shit. I'm just going to go through the motions and do enough just to get a win and forget about it. Not take any risks, not get cut, not get banged around, nothing like that. I'm just going to go through and have a glorified training session, and that's what he did. So do I like it? No, I don't. I hate the fact that he fought that way, but you've got to look at it from all angles, and I'm not going to just jump in the Crawford camp just because of that one performance. I've got a feeling that now so many people have probably said what you're saying there against Canelo. I think that just might make him just maybe refocus about where he is and maybe come out and not be in that frame of mind of where he has been in his last probably 6 fights, where he just, it's like, because the opponents don't turn up to fight, he just gets set into a groove and just cruises through and wins a decision and doesn't get too excited about the whole thing, doesn't exert too much energy. But I've just got a feeling against Terence Crawford, you might see a Canelo who comes out and is fully motivated at a normal time in front of a big crowd, all the attention and everything else. I've just got a feeling you might see Canelo just turn back the clock just a little bit. And initially, I thought he's shot. There's no way he beats Crawford, but a week on, I've just sort of reevaluated a little bit and looked at it for what it is. And we've got to give Canelo a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because up until now, he's looked pretty good. All right, Cal. Oscar said if Zerto wins, he may fight Jake Paul next. I hope not. Jai Patai deserves his shot at him. Yeah, I did see that, Cal. And he did say there's no coincidence that Zerto is fighting on Jake Paul's undercard. Can you believe that? That a 2-belt champion is fighting on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I would think that normally Zerto would be saying, yeah, I think I'll just wait out and go on a Riyadh season card or go to Australia and fight Jai Patai. I think he's obviously been promised a big money fight with Jake Paul if he gets through. And what surprised me is it's probably easy money for Zerto Ramirez, because I just cannot see Jake Paul lasting more than about 5 or 6 rounds, really. I know Zerto's at that weight's not a big puncher or as big as he used to be, but there's no way Jake Paul beats Zerto Ramirez. So maybe Ramirez is just looking at it as an easy payday and fight on the undercard and get him out the road, and then he'll look at Jai Patai. Glenn, Crawford is paying $3.50 for a decision win. Gee, I think that's value. That's very good value, Glenn. Very good value. That's over Canelo. That KO in Pac was something else. Me and the old boy thought he was dead. Yeah, I was in the arena that night, Kane, and I've never been in an arena with the atmosphere of that night. It was just electric. When Marquez decked Pacquiao, I think in the third, I thought the roof was going to lift off. Then after that, Pacquiao absolutely dominated, got careless, raced in, and Marquez said, thanks for coming, cop that, boom, right hand, all over. Shadow boxer. He's not getting up, Jim. No, he's not. All right, Kane, I can't afford the pay-per-view, but look forward to your commentary, mate. No worries, Kane. Any time, mate. Yeah, Andy, Bakram versus Bolchok. I would rather Virgil Ortiz, if I'm being honest, Andy. That would be explosive, that fight, by the way. But I would rather Bakram and Virgil Ortiz. That's the fight I would like. Shadow Boxer, WBC have absolutely no shame. No, they don't, mate. And they don't even try it anymore. Try and hide it anymore. I gave him $1. Pretty sure the rule is if a legend comes back and we can all make a shit ton of money, then they get shot the title. Well, that's it, mate. And, well, the thing is, it'll be pay-per-view, you would think, because it'll be Amazon Prime, because Tim's and Sebastian Fundora will be they're calling it the co-main, but it's really the main support of the undercard, really. But, yeah, it'll be on Amazon Prime. I think, is it pay-per-view over there? It'll definitely be pay-per-view here. 100% guarantee that with Tim there. You'll be paying $70 or $80 for the fight. So I'd start saving now. Cal, you talk pounds. I need to hear if it's super welterweight bantam. Oh, okay. Sorry, Cal. All right. Well, super welterweight. Yep, 154. Bantam 118. Okay. Yep. Sorry, mate. I will do that in the future. Bill, Jai Patai is Australia's best hope of becoming undisputed champion. He certainly is, Bill. And given the opportunity, I think he gets the job done. Andy, surely Fundora Tszyu rematch winner has mandatory Tszyu versus Virgil, though. Either good fights at 154 / super welterweight. Yeah, you would think so. I think that's the fight, Andy. Although, who knows, maybe there's a rubber match. If Tim beats Fundora and it's close-ish, there might be a rubber match. Or Tim might say, well, you didn't give me one straight away, so I'm not going to give you one straight away. But either way, I would say it's only for the one belt, isn't it? WBC. So, yeah, you would think that the winner would fight Virgil, although I think Oscar did say that Virgil's having a bit of a break. He's had a couple of really tough fights. But by the time this fight's over in July, you would think that Virgil might be due for maybe another one by then as well. Maybe not a hard one, but you might see the winner of that fight, Virgil, at the end of the year. We will see. But what a fight that'd be. Virgil against, especially Tim, would be fantastic. Drew, people are still talking as if Tszyu beats Fundora in the rematch. I'm not so sure. Such a foregone conclusion. I think Fundora will heavily rely on the jab again. Well, that's been my argument the whole way through, Drew. I've said this a few times on the Walking Boxing episodes, that people thinking, well, in the first 2 rounds, Tim lit up Sebastian Fundora and he would have done this. We don't know for sure. Yes, Tim absolutely lit him up in the first 2 rounds, but guys, that's why it is a 12-round fight. A championship fight is 12 rounds. So do I think Tim wins? Yes, I think Tim wins. Is it just a given? Absolutely not. Sebastian Fundora is a very good fighter, very awkward fighter. And I know we sort of draw or go back to the Tim with the cut and not being able to see from the first fight for the reasoning, but I got a feeling that Fundora would have worked his way back into the fight anyway. That's my gut feel. Now, would Tim have won? Yeah, probably still. I still think he would have won. But this whole thing about Tim would have blown Fundora away if not for the cut, I don't subscribe to that theory at all. So, does he win the rematch? Again, I'll say yes, but it's not going to be easy. Fundora has only lost the one fight. He got careless against Brian Mendoza. He was winning that fight up to that point. And I just think that he'll know what Tim's got this time, just like Tim knows what he's got. And I just think you'll see a Fundora who, again, tries to keep Tim at arm's distance and not get countered by those sort of counter right hands that Tim was landing in the first fight. And he's got a good team behind him, so it's not a given at all. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Tim handles it and also, obviously, how Fundora handles it. Glenn agrees. Fundora has looked better since the first fight with Tim. He's only had the one fight, but anyway, I get it. And the guy who fought, was it Booker, Chordale Booker, whatever his name was, is not Tim Tszyu, by the way. But anyway, I get what you're saying. His jab is getting better and better. Yep. He'll need it, Glenn, and I've got a feeling that's exactly what he will try and do. He won't try and fight with Tim. He'll try and keep it at a distance, keep the jab out there, which he should do in every fight, really. But he does get caught up in a firefight sometimes, Sebastian Fundora. But I think he'll use the jab and he'll try and keep Tim away and pot shot him from a distance because, Tim, whether he had the cut or not, I think did struggle and will struggle just to maybe get Fundora's range if he can't get inside. So it's a fascinating fight, and like everyone, I can't wait to see it. Shadow Boxer, definitely no foregone conclusion. Happy Tim gets a full camp focus on Fundora this time, though. Well, that's the other thing, Shadow Boxer, is that Tim had, about a week and a half notice, or 2 weeks, whatever it was, for the Fundora fight, and had to go from someone like Keith Thurman, a 5'8" or 9", whatever he is, orthodox fighter, against a 6'6" southpaw. So, be interesting to see, mate, how he goes in the rematch. Okay, OG lights out. Shout out to Freedom Boxing in Cairns. That's where I'll take the boy for his lessons. They have an amateur card on June 7th. Okay, good stuff there, OG. And, shout out to Freedom Boxing up there in Cairns. And hopefully you get that fight night up there in July, mate, with Liam Parra. It'd be fantastic for everyone up there, I'm sure. Cal, have you heard anything about Thurman? Virgil said he's fighting someone from USA. Your thoughts? Yeah, I did see there was a few murmurings about Thurman and Virgil fighting Cal, but I don't think anything is legitimate has been put up just yet. I think there's a little bit of banter on social media, but I haven't really seen or heard of anyone in the know or of anyone of note sort of say that that's a serious possibility. Again, I'm not sure whether Oscar would want to put Virgil in, especially again after those 2 tough fights in with a mover like Thurman. Pretty slick. Although maybe he does see Thurman as the easier fight. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see. But I hope Thurman actually gets a good fight. Because, if he fights Virgil Ortiz, what a great fight that would be. anyway, like whenever they fight, on top of whatever else is going on in the 154 or super welterweight division at the moment as well. So just add it to the list of great fights in that division. Any idea who'll be Tim's cut man? 100% guaranteed it will be Mark Gambia, I think it is, or Gambian. Tony, he's cut man from the first fight, mate. I think there'll be a little bit of pressure on him this time, though, won't there? There might be a fair bit of cameraman sort of footage of Mark Gam. Is it Mark? Mark Gambian, I think he is. I think he might follow us on Instagram. Let me have a quick look. Mark Gambin. Sorry, that's him. Mark Gambin is and I'll follow him back while we're going. There you go. Just gave him a follow back. Shout out to Mark Gambin. Now, there is going to be a little bit of pressure on him, but I'm sure he'll be fine. And I really like, even though, look, you got to remember too, he didn't stuff up in the fight. He's got all the what do you call it, the flack, but it wasn't him that stuffed up. He was doing his best to stop the fight. So he's employed to try and stop the cut. He's employed to let the corner know what's happening. But on the night, it was the corner, so his chief second, which is his uncle Igor, and the doctor who decided to keep the fight going. Now, it was pretty obvious early on that Mark Gambin couldn't stop the cut. I'm sure they would have asked his opinion. He would have said, geez, I don't know if I can do this, and they chose to keep fighting. I don't think they would have said, they would have put all the responsibility on the Mark Gambin about, are we going to stop it or aren't we? Because the doctor examined Tim Watt a couple of times, and he allowed the fight to continue, which is just unbelievable when you think they let that fight go and then they stopped the Navarrete fight yesterday. It just blows me away. But anyway, so I don't blame Mark Gambin at all for what happened. He did his best to stop the fight. It was the chief second and the doctor who stuffed up, and especially the chief second, which is his uncle Igor, who should have said, "Hey, we can't stop this fight. Fight over." The doctor would have just said, "Can you stop it?" No. All right, then it's a bad cut. Let's stop the fight. So. What's that? I gave him $1. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Yep. Big J. I think too many people are sleeping on Canelo versus Crawford. Canelo knew it was going to be an easy fight and took the night off. Make no mistake, he'll be at his best against Crawford. I tend to agree there, Big J. Drew. I've had a change of heart. At first, I loved the huge fights Turkey put on and didn't care where they were held, but the intense lack of Saudi atmosphere is starting to wear very thin. Drew, well, I hope you saw my videos last week on it, Drew, because I pretty much spent the whole week saying exactly that, mate. Now, I won't spend too much time on it because I'm assuming most of you that watch this show watch Walking Boxing as well, but I'll stand by it, Drew. The fact that we've taken the big fights out of the big fight hubs where the crowds all love to go. They love the arenas. They love everything about where the fights used to be. And they've taken those big fights and put them on or put them in places that people don't want them to be. And the fights themselves have been lackluster because there's no atmosphere in the building. And I think when they had it in the big building, it was even worse. So they've put fights there, no atmosphere, no crowds, no nothing. And I think it's one thing to say, hey, we're putting on the best fights, but if you've taken the spirit and the soul out of what makes boxing great, then I will happily have maybe slightly less big fights, but put the ones that we do have in those big places. So again, I spoke about this with D-Style this morning. And to think that in theory it would have been great to have the Times Square event. Now, I envisaged Times Square, and it's a big sort of little bit of real estate there with the screens and everything else and where all the streets sort of meet. It's awesome. I expected it to be right there and all the crowds there and just be a fantastic atmosphere. No, they boxed off a little area, put a ring in it, put 200 people around it, people just going about their lives, didn't even know what was really going on in there. Waste of time. It was just a little private party with Turkey and his mates. So I just think that is ridiculous, which means the Alcatraz event would probably be the same. The Brooklyn Bridge would be the same. The Great Wall of China would be the same. Just little private parties for Turkey and his mates. So I don't like it, but I'm with you there, Drew. And if sort of not getting those big cards is maybe a byproduct of not having these big shows in Saudi, well, I'm almost okay with that. Because as I said in my videos last week, all of the big fights, or most of the big fights over the years, over the history of boxing, probably 95% of them have actually happened at some stage. They've happened. The biggest fights ever have happened. So I just think we're in this mentality at the moment that, if Turki Al-Sheikh's not involved, then we're not going to have those big fights. Of course we are. And not just because fighters want to fight those big fights, but for the money involved, but more so the promoters want to put those fights on, because guess what? They make money as well. Everyone spoke about how much money Mayweather and Pacquiao made. They don't talk too much about how much the promoters made. Tens and tens of millions of dollars each, or everyone that was involved in that promotion. And everyone talks about Pacquiao and Mayweather, about how much they made. Well, so that's why I've got total faith and belief that if Turki Al-Sheikh stepped aside tomorrow, the Eddie Hearns and Oscar De La Hoyas and Frank Warrens and Bob Arams would all still go about their business, and those big fights would continue to be made. Would the undercard be as good? Maybe not. But I don't care. I'm not stressed, because most of the undercard fights we've had over there, while they're being good on paper, very rarely have they really measured up to what we thought they'd be anyway. So if we get let's say we got Fury and Joshua at Wembley and not in Riyadh, no dramas. If there's the undercard so-so, I really couldn't give a toss. It's like the other week with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. The undercard was so-so, but I didn't care about the undercard. I wanted to watch the main event. So certainly doesn't stress me, mate. But these big mega cards. Give me a show that's got 4 fights on it, maybe a 10-rounder or 2 10-rounders and 2 12-rounders, whatever it is, and I'm more than happy with that. More than happy. Or better yet, or an alternative, even if you've got an 8-rounder, a 10-rounder, a 12-rounder, and then the main event, hey, I'm happy with that as well. But I'm with you there, Drew. The novelty for me has worn right off. It really has. All right, AI, I don't think Jai gets a Zerto fight anytime soon. Should go after Badu Jack. He's with Uncle Turkey and would be looking for a payday given he's in his early 40s. Yeah, that's not a bad call either, AI. And Tasman Fighters, who are Jai's promoters and managers, they're in with the Riyadh season crew, so it would make sense. So maybe that's what happens. If Zerto decides to chase the money with Jake Paul, then Badu Jack makes sense. The problem with that, though, AI, he only fights every 2 or 3 years, so Jai might be waiting a while. All right, still with AI, Canelo will get up for the Crawford fight. Don't think he cared about his last fight, plus all the circumstances around the event. Yep, I agree there, mate. Kane, in my opinion, I've still got Canelo. I think Crawford is a great fighter, but Canelo's head and upper body movement is next level. Agreed, Kane. Glenn, Canelo's head movement is still there, but his counters are off. His counters off that have really slowed. That's the issue. Well, the other thing we haven't taken into account, though, Glenn, and I'm sure a lot of people have, but we haven't discussed on here, is what's Terence Crawford, what's his limitations going to be? He's fighting at 14 pounds heavier than he's ever fought in his career. At the age of 36, 37, whatever he's going to be, how's he going to handle the weight? Because if he's slowed down even a couple of percent, that might be the difference in Canelo being able to stop him, cut him off, set. And again, what a lot of people have sort of forgotten a little bit about Canelo as well is that in some of those fights when he's really been switched on and really tried to hurt the opponent, he put some big punches together. In his last few fights, I think he's just been content just to go with the flow, and his opponents don't want to fight. He's thinking, well, if they don't want to fight, well, I'm not going to go out of my way to really make them fight. I'm just going to cruise through, get an easy paycheck, come through unscathed and be done with it. The guys that he's actually really gone after, like a Callum Smith and a John Ryder, although he didn't stop John Ryder, did he? Caleb Plant, and he's landed some big shots on them and got them out of there. Although, hang on, did he actually get... I don't think he got Callum Smith out of there, did he? Hang on, I'm going to have to type this up here. I'm going to have to bring his record up. I'm just going back, especially the Caleb Plant fight. He actually put a few together against Belunga, who, credit to him, actually stood up to it. Munguia is probably another one. Billy Joe Saunders is another one. When he really decides to play on his feet, he can still bang. And I just get the feeling if Crawford just slows down just a fraction, then he might be in a bit of trouble coming up against the bigger Canelo. But we'll see. We're already talking about which is the way they want it. All right, Andy. Virgil Ortiz already declined Barkram fight. Maybe Virgil sees Fundora as an easy fight for a full title. Regardless, Barkram offered, but Virgil declined. I think Oscar declined, Andy. I think Oscar said, nah, he's had the 2 tough fights in a row, Madrimov and Bolchuk, and he said we don't need someone like Barkram Murtazaliev straight up. So that's why I think they declined the fight. But it looks like, by all accounts, it'll be Lubin against Barkram Murtazaliev, although Lubin only fought on the weekend. Barkram hasn't fought since, October? So 6 months, 7 months, whatever it's been, and no one announced yet. So you would think that Lubin wouldn't be ready to fight again until the end of the year. So Barkram's got to fight somebody in the meantime. You would think. You wouldn't have thought that he'd be out of the ring for over a year and waiting to October or November to fight Lubin. At 154 or super welterweight. So Lubin's the number 1 challenger. Xander Zayos is fighting Perez for the WBO belt. So the next one is Callum Walsh. Holmes got beaten on the weekend, so he's out. He was ranked number 6. Then we've got Jesus Ramos. Jeez, I'll tell you what, that'd be a good fight, wouldn't it? Jesus Ramos and Murtazaliev. So, and Keith Thurman, he's actually ranked number 10 in that division. So you never know. You never know. Imagine, this is Ryan, imagine a YouTuber fighting in the UFC. That would last 20 seconds probably. 94 Zol, is it? What other job pays $80 million and you don't have to perform? Crawford beats Canelo, even not counting that last fight. Yeah, well, mate, he's a live chance. I'm not saying he's not. Glenn says he hasn't declined not one bit, and Crawford beats him anyway. Yeah, well, we will see. Naz, I think fighters are avoiding the IBF rehydration more than avoiding Barkram. Yeah, it's a good call too, Naz. I'm with you. I think that's a really good call. I think a lot of fighters would say, well, if I'm ranked sort of high amongst all the divisions, I might just forego the IBF route because I don't want that IBF or that rehydration clause, especially the 154-pound division or super welterweight division. It makes even more sense because you've got a killer like Barkram Murtazaliev there. So, yeah, it's a good call, Naz. Are the IBF going to have to maybe water down their approach because no one's going to want to fight for their belt? Cal, Virgil's had hand surgery. Okay, yep, sorry, mate, I didn't know that. Andy, Fundora isn't going to just lay down for Tim, and he's using his length more too now. Will be interesting. We'll be cheering for Tim, but full props to whoever wins. To the victor goes the spoils. That's great way to put it, Andy. Yeah, and as I said before, mate, I just think it's going to be a really, really tough fight for Tim. Really tough fight. And also, not just physically and stylistically, but also a little bit mentally for Tim. You know, I don't think it'll play a big factor, but might it? I'm talking about the cut here. You know, they do... Well, I'm not going to say they're going to clash heads because Fundora would have to get down on his knees to get to Tim's height, but you never know. There might be a shoulder, an elbow, whatever it might be that clips Tim. Who knows? I don't think so. I think a lot of that will be forgotten. I think Tim's focus will be on the fight, but... Yeah, as I said before, Andy, I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight. Kane, Fundora did damage to Lubin. This is a very hard fight. The bloke is 6'6". Yes, yep. Combat Oz. Fundora took the fight on short notice last time. He gets a full training camp this time. Yep, well, that's the thing, Combat. We all talk about Tszyu and him getting a full camp this time. Well, Fundora is also getting a full camp. And the thing is what you also got to remember, it doesn't get spoken about much as well, is that Fundora is now the champion. He's a 2-belt champion, now a 1-belt champion. The WBO belt is gone. But you'd be amazed at how much taller a fighter walks by having the belt, how the whole outlook changes. And that might be 5% or 10%, whatever it might be, but that's how Fundora, how much he will improve just by being the champion in the fight and the experience of the first fight. I know it doesn't get spoken about a lot, and it's probably hard just to describe to maybe people that have never been in the ring, but it's amazing when, you know, you are the A side, I suppose, in this instance, and regardless of what the Aussies think, Fundora is the A side in the fight. That's just the way it works over there, and he's the champion. But he just might walk a little bit taller. And he's going to say, well, I'm the champ now, and you've got to come and get it from me, and I'm not going to give it up easily. So they might give him just a little bit more grit as well. So But it should be a great fight. Shadow Boxer, anyone going to the Crawford meet and greet thing? Yes, well, that is on the 29th of May. We, of course, had Tszyu Brown on here last Monday night. So he did say that the tables have been selling well. I think you can get tickets online on booking.com or .au, whatever it is. Not booking.com, trybooking.com, I think it is, or .au, whatever it is, try booking. Get on there and check it out. Still plenty of tickets there, just if you just want to buy a couple of tickets, 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be. So jump on and grab them while you can, because as I said, he did say tables are selling, and most people leave it to the last minute. But what is it, 3 weeks away? 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away. So it's going to come around very, very quickly. He's going to be very busy-wise here is Terence Crawford, but he's at gyms and different other things, but the main thing is that dinner at the Pavilion. So if you can get there, make sure you go and support it. All right, Glenn, on a completely different tangent. My very good mate is going to be inducted into the Australian Boxing Hall of Fame this year. Well deserved. Is that Jeff Horn you're talking about, Glenn, or Justin Rousel, I think is the other one? Sorry, you've got it in your next comment. On a different sorry. Oh, yeah, my good mate, Justin Rousel, is going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. Well deserved to a champion fighter who's a champion bloke. I never actually met Justin Rousel, Glenn. He was in that era just before I made the Australian team. So he went pro after the 92 Olympics in Barcelona. My first Australian titles was that year after all those Olympians had gone, which I was pretty pleased about, because I had Stefan Scriggins in my division. He would be like fighting Sebastian Fundora, about 6'3", 6'4", as a welterweight, a southpaw who was jumping around like kangaroo, in and out, but a very effective style. He would have been pretty tough. So I was almost pretty happy when all those Olympians were sort of gone for the year, and we had a sort of clean sort of hit at it, I suppose, for those empty or for the vacant titles, I suppose you might call it. But my brother actually went overseas, Glenn, with Justin Rousel to the world titles in '89 in Puerto Rico, and Justin Rousel actually fought Shane Mosley there and was beaten by Shane Mosley. So I am familiar with him from that. And of course, he was around in the golden age of Aussie boxing back when Jeff Fennick was around, and Costa and Jeff Harding, and at Johnny Lewis's gym was it Newtown, wherever it was. So, mate, well deserved. And by all accounts, he's a champion bloke. And I am probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. So I'll go and introduce myself and say good day. William, evening all. G'day, mate. Welcome to the show. Cal, loved Sam G interview about his Goodman interview about his fight with Inouye and his what is his Ho comment? What's that? I didn't see that one, but I did see the interview with Sam today, and yeah, he spoke pretty well as well, Cal. He's getting the hang of the whole public speaking thing, isn't he? But no, he spoke really well, and really focused, I thought, too. So I think he's primed for a big performance on Wednesday, because he's going to need it. He needs a big performance to maybe get the attention of Inouye again, who looks like he's probably tied up for the next 12 months. So if he's going to do it, he needs to do it very impressively. What's that, Big J? Did you do any research into Eric Bischoff? No, I haven't done that yet, Big J. Now, what he did at WCW in the late 90s to 2001 is very similar to what Turkey's doing with boxing, throwing around too much money for no return. No, I haven't yet, mate, but I will check him out. Eric Bischoff? Kane, they have Elmo instead of ring girls. I just don't get it. Yeah. This is in the Riyadh season. Yeah, I'm with you there, Kane. Of course, they don't have the ring girls because of the cultural differences over there. I don't think they serve alcohol either, do they? Or maybe they make exceptions for the big fights over there. I'm not sure. But can you imagine if you did make the track over there and you go to the fights and you can't get a beer, you're watching Elmo in the ring instead of ring girls, no one knows when to barrack or not. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. Carlo Copetta, how are you, Carlo? Cheers for your efforts, always provoking. Do I provoke? Any chance you can increase your stream volume? I'm pretty sure it's up pretty high, Carlo. If you can't hear me out there, guys, let me know. I don't know how to. It's up. I'm looking at my sound levels now, and it is at maximum. So Sorry, mate, I can't increase my volume. You're going to have to turn up your volume on your computer. Kane, you can't kill boxing. Amen, Kane, you can't kill it. We'll always find a way. We'll always find a way. And we'll get through this period, and that's all it'll be. It'll be a period. It'll be a period in boxing history. That's all it'll be. And in 30 or 40 years' time, people will be talking about, do you remember when that Turkey guy, that Saudi guy got involved in boxing? That's what they'll be talking about. Just like I suppose we talk about now. Do you remember those big Don King cards back in the 80s and 90s, and this card and that card and this promoter and that promoter? Yep, I agree there, Kane. You cannot kill it. AI, I think Turkey has more cash than Bischoff. Well, he's got unlimited money, AI. He's got unlimited money. How good would that be to be promoted with unlimited money? All right, Combat Oz. Big shout out to new UFC welterweight champion Jack Della Maddalena. His boxing fundamentals won him that fight. I didn't see the fight, Combat Oz. Yeah, I didn't see it. I might check out some highlights now you've said that, because I always love a UFC fighter that knows how to box. And if that's what got him the win, well, sort of, we all make our points being boxing people, don't we? That if you can box in the UFC, it goes a hell of a long way to winning, just as much as it does knowing those leg locks and arm things they do. So, all right, Young Guns. Foreman was heavyweight champ at 45. B-Hop was unified champ at 49. Pacquiao champion at 46 isn't out of the realm of possibilities. Yeah, I did speak about this as well, Young Guns. Now, my only argument to that is that Foreman spent 10 years out of the ring. And he came back. He was very active when he did come back. So when he got his shot at 45, he had that 10-year break, so he was nice and refreshed. He had a lot of, what would you call it, lesser lights that he'd blown away, and he was fighting every couple of months, so he was very, very active. That's a little bit of difference there. And he hadn't been in a lot of wars either for Foreman, Young Guns, and B-Hop was the same. He had a lot of toughish fights, but you never saw him really get tagged or in real drawn-out wars. So I think he was a young 49. Pacquiao has had just hard fight after hard fight after hard fight. Even the fights that he won, they're always wars. So I just think he's an old 46 Young Guns. And the fact that he hasn't fought for 4 years, yeah, I don't know, mate. I hope you're right there, but I just think it's a little bit different in the Pacquiao versus B-Hop and Foreman. Tony, hoping Justice wins by way of sensational knockout against Fabio Wardley in his backyard. Seems like he's such a nice, well-balanced fella who deserves the glory. He's a really nice guy, Tony. He's Justice Honey. Really nice young fella. Well, he's not young anymore. Was he 27? I think he is. I think he's a great chance of beating Wardley, Tony. The only problem is it's in England. That's what I don't like. But as far as pure boxing talent goes, I think Justice has an excellent chance of beating Wardley for sure. Drew says the difference is Foreman took a full decade off. Yes, and B-Hop didn't turn pro at Pac-Man, nor did he have as many fights. Yep, agreed, Drew. So he turned pro at 15, yep. He smashed up Caleb Smith's arm, something shocking in that fight. That was Canelo, yeah. You remember Caleb Smith was a really tall, was he light heavyweight or super middleweight, whatever he was. I think he's only super middle, but a really tall super middleweight, and Canelo struggled to get to him. So what he did, he just started throwing right hands at that arm, and by the end of it, it had blown up like a balloon. Geez, that would have been sore afterwards, that arm, but that's what he did, and slowed Callum Smith down, and maybe he employs a similar thing against Terence Crawford. Maybe he just starts banging the shoulders and the arms and the body and tries to slow him down that way. Mr. Serioso, will Errol Spence ever be back? It's a good question, Mr. Serioso. I've got a feeling, yes. But will it be in a big fight? No. Oh, I don't know. Geez, my gut feeling says yes, but on the other hand, if he's not going to get a big fight, why would he bother? I don't see him as the type of fighter who would have just a warm-up fight or a comeback fight. I think he's going to want a big fight. The problem is, too, if he does come back and gets one of these legend fights or whatever it is that Pacquiao's got, and he goes in with a serious 154-pounder, he's going to be in a lot of trouble as Errol Spence. So I'm actually hoping he stays retired, Mr. Serioso. Talk about some fighters having wars and too many big hard fights. I think Errol Spence is one of those fighters, not just inside the ring but outside the ring. I think he needs to retire. He's had enough. All right, AI. Bakram may as well retire or move up to 160. He's not worth the risk to the other high-profile 154s. Brings no dollars to the table. Yeah, well, that's been talked about, AI, and maybe it's a good step for him. Goes up to middleweight, and you've got Erizan Lara or Yanabek Alam Kanuli or Carlos Adames. Maybe that's the move for him. I don't think he'll want to give up his IBF title, though. I'm not sure how it works, though, the IBF. Is it like the others where, I think it's for the WBO, if you give up the IBF super welterweight belt or junior middleweight belt and you go up to middleweight, whether you get an automatic shot, which would be against Yanabek, wouldn't it? So, IBF. Yeah, it would be Yanabek Alam Kanuli. So, it's an option, AI, but yeah, you'd think of so many good fights at 154. Someone would want to fight him. Surely. All right, young guns. Tszyu, being unified champ at 49 is phenomenal. You'll never see that in your lifetime. And B-Hop started at 23. Pac-Man started at 17. Pac-Man has also been off for a few years here. Yep, I agree, young guns. You can start boxing at 30. You won't be unified champ at 49. I can promise you, yeah. What a performance that is, though, when you think about it. I mean, I'm 50. And to think that you're in there locking horns with the young bucks at that age, it's an unbelievable performance by B-Hop. And I think it's a very, very underrated performance by him to be undisputed or unified champion at 49 years of age. Just crazy. What's that, Ryan? Love the show. Enjoy tuning in. The best doing it, mate. You should have 1 million subs. Keep it up. Oh, thanks very much, Ryan. Well, what are we, about 2,100 at the moment? And we're growing all the time. But, look, sometimes, Ryan, you've got to put a lot of work into the followers and that, don't you? You've got to do your little reels and tagging and all the different algorithm stuff. Mate, I just do my content, put it out there, and hopefully people find it. But I really appreciate your comments there, mate. Makes it all worthwhile. Big J, think of the inflation. Bischoff was using 100 million in the late 90s. So how much is that today? Just a lot of money, isn't it? So late 90s. So what's that? Sort of 25 years ago, 25 to 30 years ago. Yeah, it's probably at least double that now, mate. Probably a couple of 100 million. G'day, Pound for Pound King. How you going there, mate? Drew, young guns. Yes, B-Hop was and is phenomenal, but his style was also much more defensively responsible than Pac-Man's style. Plus, unlike Pacquiao, he hadn't been stopped until his last fight. And that's what I said as well, Drew. The fact that B-Hop or Bernard Hopkins was a very skillful type of fighter, didn't take a lot of risks, just a really calculated fighter, used his boxing IQ to win most of his fights. Where Pacquiao was just full steam ahead. He'd take 2 to land 1 sometimes. So there is a difference. There is a big difference, I think. Pac started at 16. So we were both wrong. Just checked at Google. Okay. Good to have Google at the ready. All right. Shadowboxer. You can't kill boxing. You can't save boxing. Boxing was born with a black eye. I like that, Shadowboxer. That's a really good way of describing boxing. It's almost like it's that problem child, isn't it? You love it, but you hate it sometimes as well. Not that we hate our children, I suppose, but you know where I'm coming from. You can't get away from it. It's like that troublesome ex-girlfriend or whatever it is, isn't it? Yeah, you want to leave, but you just can't. You keep getting drawn back in. Maybe she's pretty good in the sack or something. I don't know. This is what boxing reminds me of. Yeah, that's a great line there, mate. You can't kill it, but you can't save it. I like it. All right, Glenn. Manny relies on explosive footwork and hand speed. Guess what goes first in fighters? George and Bernard, totally different fighters. Yep, 100% agree there, Glenn. All right, Carlo Capota. Everyone's in for the chop at the moment. Everyone loves his excellency. Makes me sick. We'll see what happens when he turns off the tap. What do you say? Yeah, well, I've had my say again, Carlo. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it at all. It was great when it started, but I think now that he's got a little bit more control and everyone's pretty much bowed down to him. I think his whole demeanor has changed. I think his whole attitude has sort of changed. Now it's like he gets in the ring and expects everyone just to bow down. I don't like it. I know that's only a small thing or small part of it, but for me, it just comes down to the fact they've taken the big fights out of the big venues and put them in a sterile, soulless place, and we're just not getting those the big fight atmosphere anymore, Carlo. That's my opinion anyway. Glenn says Spence is shot and finished. Bring Errol to Australia, says William. Apparently the money's here. Yeah, well, hey, you never know. He might come over here and fight Tim Tszyu. You never know. I've got a feeling if he ever fought Tim, though, it would be in the States. I think Tim wants to fight in the States. I think he came back for this one-off fight as a comeback fight, but I think going forward, if he's winning, he's going to stay in America. Explicit, that just reminded me about Saunders coming back. Yes, he's coming back, Billy Joe Saunders. He weighed up to, what was it? I think he said, was it 18 stone, which is 108 kilograms, which is about 237 pounds. And he fights at 168, or super middleweight. So it's a lot of weight. I just think he's been out of the ring for, 3 years now. By the time he comes back, it might be 4. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Chris Eubank Jr. did say that he would like to fight, so Conor Benn first, then Canelo in May, and then Billy Joe Saunders at the end of 2026. So we will see. Tony, is this bull dust or is there a grain of truth? Alphonse Gangitano belted Barry Michael in a nightclub. Painter at work mentioned it today at Smoko. It's not true, is it? Yes, it is true, Tony. I've actually spoken to Barry Michael about this. It was after he beat Lester Ellis. And Alphonse Gangitano, if he didn't know, part of the Carlton crew and the whole underbelly thing. And Barry said he saw him and his crew at a nightclub one night, a few months after the fight, I think it was. And they all just waited for him, sucker punched him, got him to the ground, kicked the hell out of him. And apparently Alphonse Gangitano actually took a chunk out of his cheek by biting it. So, yeah, it was all the Carlton crew versus the Painters and Dockers who were supporting Barry Michael. I think a lot of that had to do with it. But you can imagine that, how scary that would have been for Barry Michael. Going home wouldn't have been pleasant, I wouldn't have thought. But, yeah, it did actually happen, Tony. That is fact. All right, Shadowbox Arts. Crazy when you think about Hopkins going 12 with a prime crusher. He was a hell of a fighter, mate. Bernard Hopkins. Great resume too, hadn't he? And I still think back to when he fought Roy Jones Jr. in 93 on the Riddick Bowe, Jesse Ferguson undercard. That was for the heavyweight title. And yeah, he fought Roy Jones Jr. on that for the IBF middleweight title. All right, Jules, how are you there, mate? Pacquiao. The card is being promoted, but who is to say that the Nevada Commission sanctions the fight? What if they don't approve a 46-year-old to fight a current world champ? Is it possible? I don't think so, Jules. I think if the WBC sanction it, this is Manny Pacquiao we're talking about, they'll let the fight go ahead. It means massive amount of cash inflow into the Nevada state as well. It's Manny Pacquiao we're talking about. And look, one thing I will say about Manny, it's not like an Errol Spence situation where we're all a little bit worried about his health, slurring his words and maybe not seeming like he's all there like Errol Spence. Manny Pacquiao is still quite sharp. So it's not really about that. It's just more physical. Who knows? I just think the fact that he's never been a big welterweight anyway. I think he's more of a 135 to 140 pounder or lightweight, super lightweight. So he's always been small at welterweight. I think that's probably the main thing for me. Is he going to have the reflexes? He's going to have the foot speed, the hand speed. I don't know. I just can't see it. And look, I will say, though, that Barrios, if you're going to fight anyone, a champion in that division, it's Mario Barrios. Not, in my opinion, the greatest fighter. So it's a good option to have as fighting Barrios instead of Boots Ennis or who are the other welterweight champions? Brian Norman, of course. So it's not like he's fighting Brian Norman or Boots Ennis. Mario Barrios is a very limited fighter, and I think Pacquiao's got a good shot at beating him. Will he beat him? I doubt it, but he's as good a shot as anyone to beat him. Now, he's not ranked in the top 15, of course, is Manny Pacquiao. So, again, I think it's ridiculous that he actually gets a shot, but then comes that clause of being a legend. So, I suppose it's the legend clause. Sometimes you think of something along the lines of, well, we'll do whatever we want. Okay? Just everyone just back in your box. We'll do, if we want to do it, we'll do it. Just going to get a drink here. All right. So Drew says, with all due respect to Errol, I think he's completely dumb. Yep, I tend to agree there, Errol. Shadow Boxer. I loathe Billy Joe Saunders. Who is Zarafa fighting next? Ask Cal. Your guess is as good as mine, mate. I have no idea. Hasn't really been much talked about, has there? So I couldn't tell you. One thing I'm going to do while we get a couple of comments sort of coming through, I'm going to go to, if I can bring it up, this week's card. While the comments come through, we'll have a quick look at it. I'm just going to actually bring it over to this screen here so I'm not looking away. All right. What's that there? Shadow Boxer. What's Atlas called WBC? Weeby Crooks. Yeah, well, he's right, Shadow Boxer. Where are we? Tony, Zarafa will fight the loudmouth New Zealand fighter who got smashed by Alam Kanuli. That's Mikhailovic. I'm going to put it back over there because it's not good on the light here, that screen. All right, let's have a quick look at this card, guys. Kicking off the card, Terrell Adams, 2-0 against Roy Gavera, 3-6. Then we've got Darren Gara Truella, 4-0 against Kalova Tahikia, who's 2-0. I'm not sure whether this is the exact order here, by the way. We've got Jasmine Parr, 6-1. Why isn't she fighting Shannon O'Connell? Anyway, against Jidamat Fomta, who's 9-9 and been knocked out 5 times. There you go. Could have been Shannon O'Connell in there, but Jazzy Parr decided to fight this girl instead. Ahmed Redda, 5-0 against Patrick Lilly, 0-3. We've got Salvatore Gattuso making his debut against Nikesh Prasad, who's 1-3-1. Jason Fawcett, 9-2 against Alex Lual, 5-2. We've got then the main card, I think it is, Charlie Kazi, 8-0 against Patrick Vella, 2-0. How crazy was Patrick Vella? He was a pretty slick dude, wasn't he? He had the sunglasses on, he had the earpieces in. I think he said you had to call him the Golden Boy. He's a character, Patrick Vella. Did look at a bit of his amateur career. It happened to be on BoxRec as well. Let's just say not exactly a winning record, but we'll see. He's talked it up a fair bit. Let's see if he can measure up against Charlie Kazi, who's 8-0. We've got Stephen Ivic, 6-0-1 against Tawisi Vasuatu, who's 8-1. That's for the Australian heavyweight title. We've got Monir Fathi, 8-1 against Wade Ryan, 22-12-1. Now, these guys weren't at the press conference today. I wonder why that was. They're on the main card. That's got me bugged, especially considering... Now, here's one for you. That makes really good sense. Jazzy Parr is fight number 3 on an 11-fight card. So she's on the prelim card, not even on the main card, and they have her at the press conference? Why? But they don't have Monir Fathi or Wade Ryan there. That does not make sense. Yeah, obviously No Limit have got plans for Jazzy Parr. She's on the main table of the press conference, but they don't put her in with a live opponent like a Shannon O'Connell. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Anyway, into the main fights. Harry Garside, 3-0 against Charlie Bell, 5-1. And then the main event, Sam Goodman, 19-0 against Cesar Vaca Espinoza, who is 19-1-1. There you go. So that is the card. All right, we'll get back to some comments. Jules, for those thinking of going to Vegas for the Tszyu Fundora fight, do you think the addition of money on the card will make it hard to get tickets? Nah, it won't be hard, Jules. Won't be too hard, mate. They'll just I think they get 15 or 16,000 at the MGM Grand. To put it in perspective, I know he's not exactly Manny Pacquiao, but Terence Crawford fought there against Jeff Horn, and they only had there's like 3 tiers of it, and they only had the bottom 2 tiers open. There was still the whole upper tier that didn't sell out. The card will probably sell out, but I wouldn't be too stressed. When they go on sale, jump on. I think there'll still be plenty of tickets available right up until the week of the fight, I would think. So I did say on the walking boxing the other day, if you are going, the best place to stay is, well, the MGM Grand, especially, of course, because it's at the MGM Grand, the Grand Garden Arena. But New York's a really good one. The Excalibur is a good one, but even better is the Luxor. Really, really cheap, but a really cool hotel. That's the Pyramid. It's probably about a 10-minute walk, I suppose, from the Luxor to the MGM Grand. It's only a short walk anyway. It's nothing. It's at the southern end of the strip, so it's a little bit away from everything. If you're looking to go further down the strip, it's a fair way away. The only one further is the Mandalay Bay, which is the very last one on the south end of the strip, and then you got the Luxor. But if you're going there mainly just for the fight and a bit of relaxation, a bit of fun, your 10-minute walk to the MGM Grand. You've got the Excalibur right next to it. You've got the New York across the road as well. And then you can go down a little bit further to Caesar's Palace and all that sort of stuff. But that would be my suggestion. If you're going there just for the fight, I would stay at the Luxor. If it's price you're after, then the Excalibur. But yeah, and worst case, the New York, which is a little bit more than the other two, but directly across the road. So a few different options there for you. But to your question there, yeah, I think tickets will be fine there, Jules. Right up until the week, I think you'll be no dramas getting tickets. I would suggest, so maybe buy a ticket first before you book your flights. All right, just a bit of advice. No use going over there if you haven't got a ticket. All right, Drew, not sure if you've seen it, but Jeff Fennick engaged in a YouTube sit-down with Paul Kent, an interview worth a listen. Amazing. Wow, Paul Kent is one of the best in the business for this sort of stuff, so I would definitely check that out, Drew. Jeff is a really good interview when he sits down and he's got no distractions and they don't rile him up, and he just talks about his career or different topics. Very, very well spoken. And Paul Kent, as I said, is one of the best in the business, a very experienced journalist. So I'm sure it'll be good, mate, and I'll check it out. All right, William. I got on the Pro Box chat watching the Lubin fight. I said if Crawford knocks Canelo out, I'm flying to the US naked. Some guy replied, well, looks like you're going to get arrested for indecent exposure. So as if Crawford knocks Canelo out, you reckon he might... Oh, so this other guy obviously thinks that Crawford can knock Canelo out. I don't think so. But if he does, William, we might have to all get a bit of a GoFundMe going, won't we, to get you over to the States. All right. I definitely think, so due to an influx of the casual audience, that will probably they'll probably still gravitate to the Pacquiao name. Yeah, that was about tickets for the Pacquiao fight. Yeah, look, I think, even though it's still Manny Pacquiao, I don't think that it's going to have the same draw that it used to. Will it create a lot of buzz? Of course it will. It's Las Vegas. It's Manny Pacquiao. I get that. But you got to remember, fans used to fly from all over the world for a Pacquiao fight. I'm just not sure whether those same fans will fly. The Filipinos will come, of course, and all the Pacquiao fights I went to, they were everywhere. But they did also rely on a lot of the people like myself coming from Australia, people coming from England. So, and then obviously all over America as well. I'm just not sure there's going to be a lot of, people that are going to go over there. Although having said that, because there's going to be a shitload of Aussies that go over. So maybe, Jules, maybe I'll take that back a little bit with Pacquiao on there with the Filipinos and the Aussies going over there for Tszyu. Maybe it might go close to selling out, but I still don't think they'll fully fill it. Anyway, we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it anyway, guys, with the tickets and that sort of stuff, and keep you in the loop. But yeah, it'd be an interesting one to see whether he still has got that name and can draw. All right, Jules. Actually keen to see Fawcett again. All his sparring partners, Goodman, Paro, etc., talk about him like he's Ali in sparring. He's looked decent his last couple of outings. Keen to see the hype. Yeah, well, who did I say he's fighting? Alex Alual. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to share that same anticipation or keenness there, Jules. Like, he's an exciting fighter. He's tough. He's hard. Who was that fight he fought that was a really, really good fight? It was on one of those Wednesday night fights, I think it was. Was it Seti? I think it was, back in 23. Either way, good, tough fighter Who's he fighting? Yeah, Alex Lual. Let's have a quick look at Alex Lual's record, though. So he looks like he's Sudanese. He went the distance with John Manu? That's a pretty good effort there. Went 6 rounds with John back in December of 23. Don't really know much about any of the other guys. Did actually lose his pro debut to a guy by the name of Emmett Brown. And if you don't know who that is, of course, you haven't seen Back to the Future. Dr. Emmett Brown, he's Doc. That's his name. Just a bit of trivia there. Yeah, he has a win over Blake Minto. He's a good fighter. So, yeah, no, it'll be all right. But, no, I think look, as always, Jules, there'll be a couple of fights on the card that are okay. I mean, with 11 fights, I'm sure there's got to be a couple. But I will be doing the watch-along, and I'm not sure how many are on the actual main card. I'll have a quick look here. Where is it? No Limit. I think they separated the cards. Let's have a quick look. So I'm just watching. There's look on the Facebook page of No Limit. They're doing interviews and everything with Jazzy Parr, but they've given her a tie early on the non-televised card. I just don't get it. Don't understand it. Anyway, if Jazzy Parr, quick question, if Jazzy Parr was fighting Shannon O'Connell in a 10-round Australian title fight or whatever it is, would it maybe sway you to maybe think of getting the card, or wouldn't even that get you to buy it? Probably wouldn't. I wouldn't have thought. A lot of people don't like the female fights, but that would be a good one. All right, so the card. All right, so the main card is Charlie Kazi and Patrick Vella. Then we've got Monir Fathi Wade Ryan. Then we've got, so the Kazi Vella fight is an 8-rounder. Fathi and Ryan is a 10-rounder. Then we've got Tawisi Vosawatu, Stephen Ivic over 10 rounds. Harry Garside, Charlie Bell. Gee, is that over 6? It's only a 6-rounder. Okay. And then we've got Sam Goodman and Cesar Vaca over 10. So the whole card is, what did I say, 8, 10, that's 18, 28, 34, 44 rounds. All right, so we should be about 11:30. We should be done. So that is the main card. All right, Andy. All right, most seem to diss Barrios a lot, while Pac-Man has tons of fans. Barrios actually seems like a real good person with his own come-up story, and he's proud of his indigenous Aztec heritage. Go Barrios. Yeah, it's a good call there, Andy. And he was out here, was it for one of Tim Tszyu's fights? I think it might have been the Mendoza fight, and he was so excited to meet Jeff Fenech because he'd seen a lot of Jeff Fenech's fights, and I'm pretty sure Jeff had a really significant influence on his his desire to be a fighter. So he was ecstatic about meeting Jeff. But yeah, I'm with you there, mate. I still stand by that he's limited. But yeah, I mean, he does seem like a good guy. And I'm not really stressed who wins, I suppose. But let's hope he puts in a good performance anyway. Jules, hope No Limit got some tickets put aside. That's for that card. Yeah, well, I remember when Jeff Horn fought Terence Crawford, they actually had packages that they offered, and I would hope that No Limit really jump on this, because they're missing out on I think not only some money, they'd make money out of it, but also just a goodwill thing and the whole travelling party. I know coming from the UK, when Ricky Hatton fought in the States, they'd have packages, so you might pay. It wouldn't be cheap, but your package would include flights, accommodation, your fight tickets. They'd put on a welcome party, maybe a pre-fight party. They'd have maybe a couple of boxers come and meet everyone at the pre-fight parties. They'd do little different functions and everything, and they would charge you for it. So you buy a whole package. I don't know why No Limit haven't done something similar to this. You think, as I said, D&L was, what were they? That was still who was the promotional firm they started with in New Zealand, whatever it was, before they were D&L. I remember they were selling packages where that everyone would sit in a section. So you get your flights. Actually, were flights included? Maybe they weren't, but you got a party when you got there. I think you sat together at the weigh-in. You sat together at the fights. They had a pre-fight party and whatever it was, and you paid X amount of dollars. So again, I don't know why No Limit wouldn't do something like that. And for people that just want to just pay the money, have it all done for them, it makes sense. Hence what I've been talking about for a while, the boxing deep dive tours. that we all go together. Maybe we might do something like that where once it all gets released, I'll do some sums and maybe it might be okay. Are we all going or aren't we? This is what it's going to cost you. Let's go. Maybe we'll just dip the toe in the water, but we'll see. Yeah, Ross, the Oyo just over the road. Yep, I haven't stayed there since it's been the Oyo. This is the old Hooters. Stayed there for a while when it was Hooters. And get your mind out of the gutter. It's nothing like what people think it is. It was just a restaurant. It's a chain restaurant, Hooters is. So regardless, don't worry about what you see on TV or hear about Hooters. It's not a strip joint or anything. It's just it's a franchise. It's a restaurant. Okay. Yeah, the chicks are pretty sexy, but they don't walk around with nothing on top, whatever. But yeah, we've stayed there probably four times, I reckon, when it was the Hooters, and it's a really good little venue. You can get a room for $100 a night, and I'm not joking. You are literally a 5-minute walk across the road to the MGM Grand. So that's another thing as well. And the fact that you only need a bed to sleep in, guys. A lot of people get hung up. It's got to be the Bellagio or Caesar's Palace or something. You're paying $500, $600, $700 a night for those rooms, especially on that weekend, I would think. So those types of hotels are the best. As I said before, the Excalibur, the Luxor. You might pay $250 a night for those venues, but I can guarantee you when those fight nights come around and those big event weekends, you're paying $400, $500, $600 a night for those rooms. So nothing wrong with them either, as I said before. Take it from me, I've stayed in nearly every casino on the Las Vegas Strip. I know what I'm talking about. All right, explicit, July 11 to 19, Belunga Shiraz, Usyk Dubois, Manny Barrios will probably all be pay-per-view. Can we expect a bundle for half the price? Yeah, I think it's July 19th, isn't it? Or is it July 11th, the first one, mate? I thought they were all on July 19 because that's Stevenson and Zepeda as well. But yeah, on that one weekend, 1, 2, 3 pay-per-views. Yep, it's going to be a big weekend. And then Bam Rodriguez is fighting as well, but I would suggest that's probably just going to be on ESPN or something like that, I would say. I know you don't like UFC, but up the Aussies. No, Carl, it's not that I don't like UFC. I just don't follow it. I admire the UFC fighters. I admire the fans that follow it. No dramas at all. It's just not my thing, mate. It's not that I don't like it. I just don't follow it and don't watch it. That's all. Unless I didn't actually realise he was an Aussie, by the way. That's how well I'm going. I didn't watch it because I do get it if there's a Volkanovski or a Whittaker, one of those types of guys on. But I didn't know it was an Aussie, so I apologise, mate. But I do admire the athletes. It's just not my cup of tea. Doesn't mean I don't respect the fighters, though. If the best Ryan shows up, that fight with Fadhi could be nice. Yep. That's Wade Ryan. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. William, what's happening with that guy, John Newman, the fighter who was mentioned to maybe fight Kambosos after the taxi driver pulled out? John Manu, I think you're talking about there, William. John Manu, I would think, is the guy. He wanted to fight, but he would have been dangerous, mate. A lot more dangerous than what Jake Wiley was. I think he'd only fought a couple of weeks before. He was primed. He was ready to go. And I know Jake Wiley had a fight lined up, so he was in camp as well. But John Manu, southpaw, really sort of slick type of fighter, just would have been all wrong for George. So I think the right decision was made with going with Jake Wiley, and the result probably proved that. But John Manu's a talent, mate. Just watch out for him. Thanks, Ross. Yeah, Duco. Yep, Duco it was. I'm glad you know, mate. It's straight over my head a few years ago. All right. Drew, do you feel that the likes of Hearn, Oscar, Aram and Frank Warren will soon part ways with Turkey due to the Dana partnership, or what happens seems like there is a strange awkwardness right now? It's a good question, Drew, and I've spoken about this on Walking Boxing, but also with D-Style as well, and a few times on this show as well. And I don't know. I mean, there was the response from Oscar and Eddie, especially when this was announced, suggested to me that they've probably known about this for some time, and they've probably made the peace with the fact that it's probably going to not be a long-term relationship, and maybe it's going to be on borrowed time, and they're okay. Both of them weren't stressed about it. Both of them said, oh, well, I'll just go about doing my thing, and we're leading up to that point. It's all about, it's Turkey, it's Turkey, it's Turkey. He is it, and we are with Turkey 100%. But the first signs of maybe something not being 100% right was when they were interviewed after the announcement was made about TKO boxing and Dana White, and they both went, yeah, no, it's fine, whatever. We'll continue on. We'll do our thing. I think it might be a good thing, Drew. I would actually love to see Eddie and Oscar just say, you know what, Turkey, you go and do your thing with Dana White. Good luck with it all. We're going to go out there and really get our own stuff together or happening, because I reckon Eddie and Oscar have got a little bit lazy to some extent. Probably that's a bad word, lazy, because Eddie, I mean, he's on a plane pretty much every week, isn't he? But yeah, I don't know. I just think both of them have probably not been as proactive as they might have been in the past, or if Turkey wasn't there. So I'm actually hoping they might go out on their own, Drew. Frank Warren, I don't think is really stressed. He's doing his own thing. Bob Arum, he's doing his own thing. And their TV deal is about to be, I think it expires at the end of July, so they're going to announce another one. And Bob Arum did say they might even have more shows on TV than what they do now. They might even have a couple of different broadcast partnerships. So you never know. But I'm not that stressed. I think it could blow up in Turkey's face by giving all this to Dana White. As I said before, I like Dana. I think he'll do a good job with it. But when you're giving such a massive boxing company or program or whatever it might be, or an investment to someone that's not a boxing guy and hasn't been an experienced boxing guy. I know he's experienced in the UFC, but this isn't UFC. I'm just staggered that Turkey hasn't given this to either Eddie or Oscar, or even both of them, brought them both in and said, this is TKO boxing, and Eddie, you're going to do some shows. Oscar, you're going to do some shows. We want all your fighters brought into the fold. That to me would have been the most sensible thing, because Eddie and Oscar have probably got 75% of the best fighters in the world under their umbrella. Bob Arum and Frank Warren have got the others, but maybe 75% might be a little high. But you get what I'm saying. If you had Eddie and Oscar fronting this, I just think it would have a hell of a lot more chance of success. Because I just think when Eddie and Oscar and Bob and Frank all go back to doing what they were doing, if it does happen, and it's just Dana White running these things, I think you're going to get left behind. I really do. All right, Oscar. Jack, Della Maddalena has an absolute superb boxing game, especially in the pocket. Super clean shots and loves going to the body. Think you would love his style. Thanks, Oscar. I'll check him out, mate. As I said, I didn't watch the show yesterday, but I will YouTube it now, mate, because I love when a UFC fighter takes on a bit of boxing. Do we know who Liam Paro is fighting yet? No, we don't, AI. Not yet. It looks like it's going to be July 11 in Cairns. That's all I know. So what is that? May, June, July. It's only 2 months away. So you'd think they'd have to have someone announced it. The word is, though, that Nikita Tszyu won't be part of that. He'll be out till August at this stage. So that'll be a year out of the ring. So you've got to wonder, is the hand issue is worse than what we thought? Or maybe is the fact that Tim's fighting on the 19th of July, they just thought, well, let's just put him back. It's not really going to make any difference. We want him to be part of the camp and not be stressed about the whole Tim thing and the trainers and managers and all that, all sort of having to juggle the time with the fighters. So that's probably why. But yeah, I don't really want to read too much into it. But could that hand injury be a little bit worse than what we thought? Let's hope not. Jules says, hypothetically, if Manu is dangerous to George, is he dangerous to a Hitchens, or do we just think George is a fair bit away from winning a title at 140? I don't think, Jules, Manu is dangerous to George in a sense that if the fight was signed and George had a 10-week camp and John had a 10-week camp, that it would be super competitive. I think John gives him a really good fight style-wise, but I don't think we need to hypothesize, is that the word, about the fight, because it's never going to happen. John Manu is, at this stage, a domestic level fighter, and by the time he does maybe get to world level, George will probably be long gone, so it's not going to happen. But I was more so talking about the timing of that fight. John was red hot, full of confidence. He had a really good win over, I was going to say Jason Tatum. What's his name? Tatum, what is it? Jalen Tate was his name. I was about to say Jason Tatum. But Jalen Tate had a good win over him. He was red hot, ready to go. It would have been dangerous for George because of the short turnaround as far as getting his mindset and everything, and maybe tweaking his game style and all that sort of stuff. That's why I reckon John would have been dangerous. I think if they both had a full camp against each other in mind for the whole camp, I think George wouldn't have too many dramas with John. But as I said, mate, it's never going to happen because George will be long gone before John even, I think, starts to hit that scene. Who would you suggest if Justice? What's that? Who would you suggest Justice Honey fights if he gets past Wardley? Well, if he wins, he's going to have that WBA interim heavyweight title, isn't he? So it would be, well, hopefully it's not going to be Usyk. I wouldn't have thought yet, but maybe it could be Kubrat Pulev, who's got the regular belt. Maybe that's the next one. So that makes a bit of sense, doesn't it? Now, Justice is ranked number 9. Yep, and Wardley number 1. So maybe Pulev, Drew. All right, guys, got about 10 minutes to go. We'll try and get through as many of these comments as we can. Who do you want to see Virgil Ortiz Jr. fight next? Well, I'd love to see him maybe fight Tim there, mate. But yeah, maybe could it be Erickson Lubin? Could it be Bakram Murtazalov? I doubt it because he's got the WBC super welterweight title. Let's have a look. So he's the interim WBC champion. He's already beaten the number 1 challenger, Boachok. Xander Zayas is out of action. Jesus Ramos Jr. is the highest ranked one there. So maybe it could be Ramos Jr. I think that'd be a great fight. Very winnable fight too. The odds are, though, as I said before, Oscar, I think they'll put him in with someone that's probably a little more beatable, and they'll get him someone in the top 10 who's not really going to pose too many problems with him, or top 15, I should say, and then he'll probably aim for the winner of Fundora and Tszyu. We got there. Dana being the front man runs a lot deeper than it looks on the surface. Not all money is good money. I agree there, mate. Explicit says, looks like a new broadcaster will join the boxing business if Aram said they have 3 lined up. Yeah, well, I think it will be Netflix explicit. There is talk maybe DAZN might be in there as well, although DAZN don't normally just sort of coexist with other broadcasters. So I don't know. Well, you're right, explicit. Aram did say that it could be more than one broadcaster. So, and like you said, there might have 3. So exciting times for Top Rank. I'm really hoping that Top Rank are pretty much born again as well, and they get a new lease of life. I'm really hoping that's the case. Especially if now Bob's starting to step back, and maybe this is a whole new lease of life for Top Rank, and they can really step up and give Golden Boy and Matchroom something to think about. What's that, Shadowbox? Did you see my question about weight training and if it's a detriment to boxing? No, sorry, mate. I must have missed that. Apologies about that. Is it a detriment to boxing? Depends on what type of weight training, Shadowbox. It's definitely heavy lifting, I would have thought. This day and age, with all the strength and conditioning, all that sort of stuff, it's part of it. But I think it's more explosive weight training. I remember when I was fighting, it was all explosive stuff, not so much the heavy stuff. So, yeah, used properly, I don't see it's a detriment there, Shutterbox. I just think it's a part of what they do these days. Cal Jane, if fighters get 50-50, we'll see best fights. Fighters now chasing big money, not fighting as often as boxers used to. I get that, Cal Jane. And if you don't have to fight, I suppose you don't really want to, do you? But, yeah, I'd say if fighters get 50-50, we'll see best fighters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it all, Cal, as far as, I think as long as Turki Al Sheikh's involved, we're going to continue to see maybe the fighters with the bellies being a bit full, I would think. So maybe if we can get back to Oscar and Eddie and Bob Arum and everyone doing their thing, maybe we might get to those 50-50 fights, but we'll see, mate. Jules, sad to see Steve Spark post on social media about the broken hand he suffered in Mexico, ending his career. I thought he just lost the passion. Fingers crossed Nikita is good to go when ready. Yeah, Jules, I did see that. I wasn't aware, though. Oh, sorry, I didn't actually see that particular post, but I have seen a bit of Steve on social media. I wasn't aware about the broken hand. So he is coming back, though, isn't he? Or has he pulled the pin again? I'm with you. I thought he just lost the passion. I wasn't aware that it was a broken hand. That is a shame if that's the case, mate. But it's not very often you see someone that, with a broken hand having ending their career. That's strange and also sad if that's the case, mate. William, if Justice wins in good fashion, I'd love to see him fight Otama. Yeah, now who did I see they were talking about Otama fighting soon? I'll have a quick look at the rankings and see, but there was someone they were looking for him to fight, and I can't remember who the hell it bloody was. Was it Hergovich? I can't remember who it was. But Frank Warren was quite keen to have him fight someone. Bacoli, I think it was, actually. Yeah, it was Martin Bacoli. So Frank Warren wants him to fight, or Tama to fight Bacoli, which would be a pretty good fight. But I think, judging on what I've seen of Bacoli lately, that's a bad fight for him. I can just see another repeat of Joseph Parker in that one, I would think, where just standing straight upright and Otama just coming from the floor, just coming up with those big shots and all over, I would think. Just like Tyson used to do against those bigger opponents. He'd come from down low and just come up with those big uppercuts and hooks. I could see that from Otama. Big boy, though, is Bacoli, isn't he? All right, Jules, from what I could gather, Nikita is attempting to make a comeback, but he's experiencing complications of the hand even after multiple surgeries. Or is that Stevie Sparky talking about there? It must be Jules. Sorry, Jules, it must be Steve, yeah, because that's who you're talking about before. Okay, so he's attempting to make a comeback, but he's experiencing complications. Yeah, that's sad, isn't it? As I said, it's really strange to see someone put out by a hand injury, but it must be pretty serious. Must have been a good break. And that fight was an absolute robbery in the purest sense of the word. Yeah, who was that against? Let me just put in his name. Because that was a robbery. And he was really riding high, wasn't he, Stevie Spark? Where is it? Spark. The Viking. All right, so that fight, geez, that was 2 years ago now. That was against Gabriel Valenzuela. Lost a split decision. And then before that, had that disqualification win over Montana Love. Yeah, so it's a shame after what happened with Tim. So that was 4 years ago as well when he was stopped in that fight. But yeah, I'm with you there, Jules. I thought that he won that fight too. What were the scorecards on that fight? 90, 95, 94, 90, 96, 93 for Valenzuela and 95, 94 for Stevie Spark. Yeah, that was a heartbreaker, Jules, that's for sure. All right, guys, I think we've got a couple of minutes to go, but I think that might be it. I think I've got to the end of the comments. If you've got anything else you'd like to add, let me know. If not, we'll call it a night. But before I go, make sure, again, on Wednesday, you're watching or looking out for the live watch-along. I think it kicks off at 7 o'clock. So we'll try and get through all the fights, well, at least the top 3 or 4 anyway. We'll see how we go. But we'll say 7 o'clock now. The following week, I'll get back to the dream fights. Make sure you watch out of a morning. Every morning, I put it up. It's on Spotify as well as YouTube, the walking boxing. And if you haven't seen that before or listened to it, all it is me is just giving my thoughts on my thoughts of what's happening in the boxing in the last 24 hours. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Just a little bit of a chat, about 20 minutes ago, for just me talking about what's happening in the boxing world. All right, one last comment there. The hype for Otama is huge. Do you believe in most of the hype, or do you still think Otama has a little way to go to reach the highest level? I think he has a way to go yet, Drew. Look good so far, but let's just see him in with a credible opponent, and then we'll make our judgments and we'll go from there. So, again, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll look forward to catching up next Monday night on Talking Boxing.